Okay, so let's jump right in. We're about to impact a sprawling 461-page memoir. But here's the thing, this isn't just a story that goes from A to B. Nope, it's all built around this one really powerful idea that a human life, with all its chaotic twists and turns, isn't actually random. It's a fractal.
So you might be asking, what even is a fractal? Well, the official math definition talks about a geometric figure where every little piece kind of looks like the whole thing. Just think about a snowflake or a coastline. No matter how far you zoom in, you keep seeing the same basic shapes repeating. Now, here's the wild part. What if you applied that very same idea to a human life?
And the author puts it just beautifully. He says that every single one of us is living our own fractal story, that we're all on this grand adventure where the core patterns of who we are just keep echoing throughout our lives, but in all these new and different ways. It's a fascinating way to look at our own experiences, isn't it?
So, this really gets to the heart of what this whole memoir is exploring. What if all those things in your life that seem completely disconnected, the job you have, the places you've been, the spiritual beliefs you hold, what if they're not disconnected at all? What if they're all just different versions of the same core pattern, playing out over and over again? So, how are we going to do this? Well, instead of just walking through a simple timeline, we're going to go on a hunt. We're going to look for these recurring patterns across a lifetime of some pretty incredible experiences. Let's start with the first one. This first pattern is maybe the most powerful one in the whole book. The author calls it the search for the wave. And it's this lifelong quest for a transcendent experience, that feeling of complete bliss and harmony. And it showed up in his life in two very different but uncannily similar ways. It all started with the ocean. As a kid growing up in California, surfing wasn't just a sport for him. It was his escape, his sanctuary. It was even a form of meditation. He talks about how all his problems would just disappear into the water. It was the first wave he ever chased. And this is where the fractal idea just clicks into place. Decades later, he finds himself meditating in India, and he describes the feeling as surfing the inner wave, being totally saturated with love and bliss. You see what's happening? The physical search for that perfect ocean wave became a spiritual search for an inner wave of consciousness. It's the exact same pattern, just playing out on a different scale. One outside, one inside. It's amazing. Okay, the next pattern is just as fascinating. This one's about what he calls an unseen web of connections. It's about how things that seem like random coincidences can actually weave together over decades to show you that there's a hidden order to your life. And to really get this, we have to talk about synchronicity. It's a term from the psychologist Carl Jung, and it basically means meaningful coincidences. Events that don't have a direct cause and effect link, but they feel deeply and meaningfully related. And the author's life is absolutely full of them. Now get ready for this story because it's a perfect example. It starts all the way back in 1963. A classmate's dad gives a school presentation on pyramids, which really inspires the author's friend, Mark. Now let's fast forward, like way forward, 53 years to 2017. Mark is finally climbing a pyramid, he posts about it on Facebook, and just on a whim asks, hey, does anyone remember that old classmate, Paul Cohen? Well, that one single post reconnects them all. And here's the kicker. It turns out Paul's second cousin is the famous spiritual teacher Ram Dass, who was a huge influence on the author. A 53-year-long connection, all sparked by one random school assembly. That's synchronicity. All right, the third major pattern is this constant dance between two worlds that seem like complete opposites: the logical, ordered world of technology and the mystical, intuitive world of the spirit. Just check out what we're calling the impossible resume. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He helped design a futuristic house in the 50s. Then he receives a profound spiritual initiation in India. Then he wins a huge award for developing financial software for Charles Schwab. And he worked for Naval Special Warfare, where he says he met an alien being. How do those four things even exist in the same life? So the crucial pattern here is this ability to live in two realms at once. On the one hand, he's a super logical software engineer working for major corporations and the military. But on the other hand, he's exploring consciousness, practicing channeling, having out-of-body experiences. It's that fractal again, right? This consistent pattern of bridging the physical material world with the metaphysical spiritual world. So where does all this lead? We have the wave, the web of connections, the dance between technology and spirit. All these repeating patterns.
Well, this brings us to the final, unifying theme of the whole book: finding the way home. After we've traced all these patterns across hundreds of pages and decades of a life, what's the final picture that emerges? What is the whole that all these tiny repeating parts have been pointing to all along? And the conclusion is pretty profound. He realizes that home was never a physical place. It wasn't California or India or a specific job. The entire fractal journey, every single wave, every synchronicity, every paradox, was actually a map. And it was a map that was always leading him inward, to an internal state of being. The journey out in the world was always, really, the journey in. And from a journey like that, you distill some core truths. He boils it down to a few key lessons. 1, we are our own teachers. Our own inner experiences are our best guide. 2, kindness is the fundamental energy of life. And 3, the heaven we're all looking for isn't some place we go later. It's a state of mind we can create for ourselves, right here and right now.
And he leaves us with this final, powerful thought. It's this idea that the answers, the treasure, the jewel that we spend our entire lives searching for, it's already inside of us. But the journey to find it, that's a journey we each have to take for ourselves. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the repeating patterns in your own life, and where might they be trying to lead you?